Alrighty. Do you have concern for the country as I do?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think those who are conducting this travesty and creating this two-tier system of justice, I want to ask them, what the heck? Do you want us to be in civil war? Because that's what's going to happen. We're not going to keep putting up with this. And Eric, I like that you suggested that we need to get angry. We do need to rise up and take our country back.
Yes, take your country back through the doors of the windows of the Capitol building. That's just an idea. I've never seen it before, but like, what if you like scaled the walls and you pushed over DC police and Capitol police officers and you hit them with American flags? I mean, that'd be crazy, that'd be crazy. No one's actually seen anything like that except for when we totally all saw you basically try to incite civil war against this country. So, cool, still at it. And Yasmin, to your point, still inspiring, far right extremist violence, racist violence, as we just saw a few days ago in Jacksonville, Florida. So I'm not sure when the game on is for the Civil War, but for sure, the people who watch Newsmax, the people who follow Donald Trump, they're not waiting. They are taking matters into their own hands, and by matters it is trying to murder specifically Black Americans, but immigrants, people of color, women. That is the goal.
Yeah, and what's interesting about a lot of this is, I think I was recently talking about this. The Republicans are accusing the Democrats of fear mongering all the time. And that clip from Sarah Palin, it's like, I don't even know how you can say something like that seriously without hearing what's coming from your own side or your own party or whatever. I don't know if Sarah Palin is even like an actual player in the Republican Party anymore, if she's just like somebody who goes on these shows and says things like, we need to get angry, we need to like maybe start a civil war, or the civil war is coming. And what's scary about all of this is that the people that she's addressing, the people who watch these shows, are people who live very isolated lives in very isolated, homogeneous communities. So they don't actually know what's going on out in the world, out in cities. They just don't go. They don't know they've never met certain people. They've never met people of color. They've never met immigrants, et cetera, et cetera. So they're afraid of all these various groups of people and things that really aren't threatening their livelihoods. But now they're reacting to it as if their entire lives are under threat, and they're just not. Like, it just isn't the case.
Yes, and so let's just check in with those people. Let's check in with the American public, okay? Because Donald Trump says that all of these indictments, for and counting, I'm excited for the reality show. Come on, you've got a future. That all of them are politically motivated, that Biden is controlling the Justice Department 100%, even though Biden is trying to bend over backwards to distance himself from Merrick Garland and the rest. But so what do the American people think? Is it politically motivated or not? Well, interestingly, people say it's not. So this is a new poll put out by, I believe, Politico and Ipsos. It was over 1,000 adults, 18 or older, interviewed online. Justice Department is being fair, according to the majority of respondents. 59% agree the Justice Department is being fair. 23% of Republicans, 89% of Democrats, and 64% of independents, which is pretty huge. And then more interestingly, a lot of these voters want to have this trial done before the election. I mean, which one? We can imagine probably the Jack Smith January 6th indictment. But basically they're like, we want this to be wrapped so we can make a clear-headed decision. So here's more polling on that. 61% say they want a trial before the general election. 33% of Republicans, surprising more. 89% of Democrats and 63% of independents. And in just squeaking by, is Trump guilty in the eyes of half the respondents? 51% said yes. 88% of Democrats, 53% of independents, 14% of Republicans. Again, whether or not he's guilty, as we've talked about in our current political upside down, doesn't really matter in terms of whether or not people will vote for him again, I think, at least not his base. But the idea that the Justice Department is being fair, Yasmin, so that no matter what, you're picking off a lot of people there. There's sort of the discrepancy between the people who will vote for Trump again and the people who, like, there's just this growing chasm. You know what I'm saying? In terms of the people who are like, if you think it's fair, then are you really gonna openly vote for a criminal? Maybe the base will, but maybe not the majority.
Yeah, so what I think, or what I hope maybe is happening, is that a lot of Americans are tired and they're confused, and all we want is some clarity so we can just move forward, figure out what happened, why it happened, who was involved, all these factors, so we can get back to some semblance of a normal American election process. And we used to have that up until very, very recently. Up until very recently, every election day you would go, you would vote, and then you would have a president the next day, right? That's usually 9 times out of 10 how it goes, with the exception of, Bush, Gore, and then with all the Trump stuff that happens. And it's really frustrating. And we're supposed to be the example of democracy around the world, and it's also kind of embarrassing. So I think apart from the most zealous of the Trump base, I think most people, Republicans and Democrats alike, actually want to get back to some bit of normalcy, at least where the elections are concerned.
Agreed, yes. I couldn't have said it better. And I think, even that dude, Oliver Anthony, the singer, who's basically like, she's like, I'm just a guy. I'm just annoyed at like the 1% and all these people who don't speak to me and my concerns and my needs because they're all busy jockeying and scoring political points with one another.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.